So I am super excited today because I have a guest on the podcast. And it's a guest that is very much in my world because I have been in her world, let's just say, doing an AI course, her AI marketing machine, which has been fabulous. And so I knew that I needed to get her on the show. So, welcome, MG. Let's start by just getting a little bit of an overview of you. And I know that you are an ex teacher and now you're this AI guru. Share with us, what has that pathway been like?
And thank you so much for having me, by the way. And you saying AI guru, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I a guru? I mean, I'll take it. Thank you for
You
that
definitely
intro.
are.
Oh, thank you. And yes, my background is in teaching, but originally I did a degree in marketing, and I don't know if anyone, I mean, I do share it, but my first degree in business marketing was at a point where I thought, okay, well, this is the path that I should take in my life, right? And so I went and did that, went into corporate for zero point 0.5 seconds, basically. Hated it because very much, as many of us in business are, we are heartfelt and we have missions and purposes in life, and corporate marketing didn't feel like it. So I ended up going into teaching because I felt like I want to help people, right? I want to be a teacher and I want to be able to, shape the future and et cetera. And so went into teaching, and, anyone that's listening that has been a teacher or is friends with teachers will know that you go into teaching with this purpose and this passion, and then you come out of it and go, what the heck is this? And that was very much my experience. I managed to get to the 7-year itch of teaching, which is apparently the pretty standard amount of time to last as a teacher, unfortunately. But I obviously learned a lot in that process about education. And and then after that, had my children and, thought, what can I do to create this freedom-based kind of business that's going to allow me to show up in my life as well? And that's, there'll be people listening to this that very much resonate with that, because we create these businesses because we want to have freedom. We want to have more control over
Totally.
our lives, right? And so I did that, started my first business, and used the marketing knowledge that I had to grow that very first business, which was actually a small gym. I became a personal
Oh,
trainer. Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Um, yes, and so did that, and then realized that it was a pathway to burnout very quickly. But ultimately, I had that marketing knowledge, and I continued to share that marketing knowledge with other small businesses that, wanted that help, and that led there. And then, ChatGPT landed in 2023, and what happened then was I realized this was going to be the future. And I guess I'm a bit of a futurist. I'm really interested in what's going to happen in the future. And that was probably also part of why I was interested in education, and then realized that education, the actual education system, was not in thinking about the future at all.
For you.
And yeah, and so AI really interested me. And at the time, I had this amazing mastermind that I was running. It was earning me 6 figures a year, just that one product. And it still didn't feel quite right. So I burnt down, which is scary. And again, there'll be people listening
Yeah.
that, burn down parts of their business or burn down their whole business because they're like, it just doesn't feel right. Went all in with AI, didn't pay myself for 3 months because I had to obviously, cut things out, and then went all in with AI. And it's obviously paid off. And I have learned a lot in that process, because you can't not when it's changing every 5 seconds.
I
But
reckon.
also, like, I have ADHD, so it helps me to get really excited about new things. And I am serving still the same people that I was before who were looking for marketing assistants, because that's a lot of what we are, where we start with AI is often going, okay, well, how can you help me with my marketing? And then I use all the things I know about educating to educate adults in a way that simplifies what seems to be complex. And I think that is probably one of my point of differences, is that I can educate as if you're a primary school aged child, even though you're not, but we need it broken down into that. And so it's
Totally.
full circle. Very long explanation of all the things, but I feel like they all intertwine.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And you definitely have a knack of teaching it like you are a primary school child. And I love that.
We all
So,
need it.
We need it. We totally need it. There are so many AI platforms out there, so many tools and things that we can use. What should we be using? And I know you love this question because I've heard you explain this. And also, on the back of that, is Claude really better than ChatGPT? Because it's definitely stealing the limelight at the moment.
Yeah, and it's a good question, and it's probably the most common one. So I'm glad it's the first one you've asked because people listening to this will be like, ask her that. So yes. The answer to your question at this point on, 19th of June, 2026, because anything could change in the very near future, is that for a small business, yes, Claude is better than ChatGPT right now. And that's because of its capabilities and the simplicity of using those capabilities. And ultimately, as small business owners, we want it to help us write things and give us an output, which is where we've all kind of started with giving it a prompt, help me write a caption, help me give some ideas for social media. It helps with that, but it also goes beyond that when you get into the functionality of things like co-work, where it can start to take away some of your administrative workload. And particularly for small businesses, that is huge. We didn't go into the business to be like, oh, I get to write emails. And obviously, this is like what you do, right?
Totally.
Like, I just want to do the thing that I went into business for. But behind all of that, you got to do all the emails, you got to do all the marketing, you got to do all the workflows, you got like all those things. And so that is why right now, Claude, I believe, is the best option because it can do those things, but it also is relatively easy to set up. You can do it on other platforms. So ChatGPT, OpenAI has got a connection called Codex that also will do that, but it's nowhere near as straightforward to set up. And because we go into business for, say you're a physio, you want to help people fix their bodies. You don't want to go and learn coding or like how to use a complex system. You want something that's simple. And so that I feel like that was the second part of your question. What was the first part of the question? Did I already answer that?
What AI tools should we be using?
Yes.
Given there's
And
so many out there, how do you decipher out of everything? I mean, I think Claude's a bit of a no-brainer.
yeah,
Which should we be adding other things into the mix?
potentially, yes. And it depends. Everyone loves that answer because it's not like straightforward, right? But the best way to think about what AI tools you might need is actually not starting with the tool. It's starting with what are the bottlenecks or what are the things that are taking up your time and your energy in your business, and then looking for the tools that can help you with that. Either save you time, make it more streamlined, enhance it to make more profit or more revenue. And so that's the starting point. And I think right now, because there's so much hype, right? And we're all seeing it. There's so much hype. This thing can, take 10x your profit and, make you never have to work more than 3 hours a week again. And it's all the new snake oil, right? And so it's kind of like navigating the hype versus looking at the reality in your business and what you actually need. So you mentioned to me, before we hit record that you use Descript. Now, I have used Descript, but I don't have a podcast. So for me, that subscription of Descript is not really necessary. But if you have a podcast, something like that, or Riverside, which has a lot of AI embedded for that specific purpose, is really helpful. And if you do have a podcast, you know how many hours go into planning, recording, editing, the marketing afterwards, all of that. So anything that can make that easier. So it's really, again, it's just coming back to what you should be using is what solves the problem for whatever your bottlenecks are. And if you're not sure what that is, my recommendation is to use Claude and to actually say to it, hey, here are the things that are taking all my time and energy. Search the internet. Tell me what AI tools there are out there that might be able to help me with these bottlenecks. Give me a summary of their features, their functionality, the price point, and also search Reddit forums for any issues with it. So that it gives you the full breakdown, not just the marketing from that AI's page, because of course they want you to pay the money, but also the user experience. And then only sign up monthly. Because honestly, 12-month AI subscriptions are not worth it right now because in 12 months, what,
Landscape changes.
yeah, what you could
Yeah.
do with Claude, like say you save 2 months worth, but you might actually only need, that gives you 10 months, that you might only need it for 5 months because all of a sudden you can do it in Claude
Something
or,
comes out.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Love that. That is such a good tip. Thank you for that. So I would love to hear some kind of real life examples, or I guess kind of a day in the life of MG or the people that you teach. How are people actually using AI to grow their businesses, to save them time? Can you give us some kind of examples around what that looks like?
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, if we go through a day in the life, uh, for me, most of it is related to Claude Cowork and or some systems that are interconnected with a platform like make.com. Zapier is another one that other people might be aware of. You kind of teeter into automations, but like AI and automations are almost like they're integrated now. So in the morning, the first thing that happens when I open my computer is Claude will look at all of my emails, my calendar, my Slack channel, which is where my team is, and it will make a summary of the things that I need to prioritize for that day. And then I just get a Slack ping to say, hey, this is your timeline for the day. And these are the things that I've flagged, like emails maybe that need to be responded to, but also it looks at it and goes, well, half of those, they're marketing emails. So maybe you might not need to look at all of those. There might be some that are interesting because it knows what my interests are. And if it's, some kind of incredible AI update, yes, flag that, need to look at that. But otherwise, it's okay. These are the things that matter the most, and these are your priorities for the day. So it's kind of like an executive assistant that does that. And that's the first thing I suggest people set up in Claude Cowork. Then there are things based on what I'm currently doing. So I'm running a masterclass next week, and I have Claude each day go into my Techmatics, which is Go High Level account, and just send me a Slack message in the morning and say, hey, this is how many people are registered. So I've got visibility on that without actually having to go into that system. So I'm out, going for my morning walk, and I get a message saying, hey, you've got 200 people registered for your masterclass. I'm like, cool. If I can then see from the day before, I'm like, oh, there's 191 yesterday. So I only had 9 people sign up. Like, maybe there's an adjustment in my strategy that I need to make. So it's that visibility. And the visibility like expands beyond that too in some of the dashboards that we've created so that, we have our information in so many different places, right? You might have your CRM where you have, information about email open rate, maybe sales, landing pages. But then you've got, your Zero account. You've got all these different spots where information comes in. And so we also have got a vibe coded. So this is using Claude dashboard that shows us at any point in time live data from all of those places. I do have to hit refresh so that it can just take a moment to draw it. But instead of me having to log into 5 different things, I've got that visibility.
It's there.
So that's all, that's all kind of administration, visibility kind of work. Then in marketing, it's every week being across the performance of my social media content because Claude goes in each Monday, looks at my insights and gives me a performance summary. It knows if there's a post that's, being boosted. So it can go, oh, well, we can see that the reason that went well is it was boosted. And then it gives me ideas for content for the next week based on what went well and what didn't go so well. So that's a really great marketing strategy. And then, of course, I can use that exact same performance summary with some of the skills that I've got set up in Claude to then help write a carousel or a talking head reel or a hook to go over a 7-second reel because I've trained Claude to know what my social media strategy is. Email marketing, like once you know your email marketing strategy, you can get Claude to help you write those emails. And that's, the email marketing, but then there's also replying to emails just in general in your inbox because sometimes it, maybe it's
Got time for that.
emotional. Well, and yeah, there's so many emails. And so if it can take that off your plate, not completely, probably should preface that, like it's not taking it off your plate completely, but it speeds up the process and it it gives you that visibility across things so you can spend time on the things that matter because you've got the data that tells you what matters.
Yeah.
There's lots of examples there. Like, I feel like I could give more. I'll give one example that's more of an ad hoc kind of example, which happened in your round of AI marketing machine. And I had vibe coded this questionnaire or bottleneck audit. And it was coded to email everyone a copy of their audit. And then somehow 48 hours before we got started, there was an issue with the email getting sent to people. It got sent to me, but it didn't get sent to the person. And that was, annoying. Now, the time it might have taken me to go back and fix it, it might have taken me a couple of hours. So instead, what I did was I just set up Claude to go in and check my emails every hour. And if there was an audit that had been emailed to me, because I knew it was coming through to me, to forward it to the person that it was from. And that was it. And so then that took me 2 minutes to give Claude Cowork that prompt. And it meant that people were getting their audit and I didn't have to, spend a couple of hours recoding
Trying to
something,
work it all out.
make sure
Yeah.
that, because it was literally something that just needed to happen for a couple of days, as opposed to and I will make sure it's updated for the next round. But it was like, okay, the priority right now is making sure I can deliver. So these are the things that I'm going to do in the meantime, because there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways to get to an outcome. And that's another problem with AI, is that someone might say to you, oh, this is how you do social media with AI. And that way will work. But if it doesn't fit in with the way you work, it's probably not going to save you time, or it's going to feel frustrating and not really in alignment. So it's like, sometimes you've got to work that out for yourself.
Yeah, totally. And I love how you step us through that in AI marketing machine. So it's fit for purpose for us.
Mm.
So that leads quite nicely onto my next question. For the AI haters out there, or maybe they've dabbled in AI, but they've found that it sounds like AI and they don't like that.
Yeah.
How does your method and what you teach, and do you have any tips around how do we create, social media content, email marketing, all those things so that we don't sound like a robot?
Yes. And it's really important. It's a really important question, because you don't want to use AI just for the sake of using AI. You want to use it to either do as well or better than what you're currently doing. Otherwise, you're negatively impacting your brand. And there is so much crap AI marketing that exists out there. So the process that we go through, that I know you've gone through with me, is getting really clear on two things. And that is your brand voice and your brand story, and injecting that into the knowledge that your AI uses. And there's a lot of small businesses that don't actually have that really solid, clear brand voice and brand story anyway. And then, of course, AI can't show up as you because it doesn't have
Doesn't
that.
know you.
Yeah, it doesn't have that context. And so I guess, obviously, if you're not doing AI marketing machine, if you come into AI marketing machine, you get bots to take you through that process. But if you're not, that's the foundation of it, really, is getting a really clear brand strategy almost, and extracting all of the pieces of that are the essence of how you speak in your marketing. And that's why the story is really important too. Like, you would have chatted to Jasri, this story bot, and she's absolute
Yes.
psycho. She won't leave you alone because she wants to just get all the juice, squeeze every bit of the juice out of that lemon. And it's painful because, you have to keep giving more, but that is the context that helps AI write better. So if it's not giving you what you want, there's two parts. There's the beginning and there's the end. So the way I look at when you're getting it to write in your voice is, it's like an 80-20 split. 80% you want AI to be doing, 20% you do, but it's front and back loaded. 10% at the beginning, 10% at the end. Never miss that 10% at the end and just send it. I've got an example of an email that I did that with, where I just copied and pasted the email into Chontelle without looking at it. What happened? For some reason, on that one day, Claude didn't put my first name code correctly, even though it's trained to do it, it made a mistake. And because it does.
Mhm.
And I sent that to 2,500 people. Hey, first name, don't
I
always
think
do
we
the
have all done that. I think we have all done that at some point.
Yeah. So the end is important. And but the beginning is equally as important. And you want to get to the point where you're only having to put in 10% at the beginning. But it's almost like to get to that point, you have to do all of that training first. You can't expect the first time you use Claude to just give it 10%. You kind of got to give it 200%
Yeah.
to then get it to that point. And give it feedback. That's the other tip, is that a lot of people go, oh, okay, no, that didn't work. And then they stop. That's the opportunity when it comes back and says something and you go, what the hell? That doesn't sound anything like me. Tell it, and tell it how it doesn't sound like you. As if it was
Yeah.
actually, your social media manager that you've hired, and they give you something and you go, oh no, that's not right. Like, tell Claude and tell it how it's not right. And if you're not sure how it's not right, you just know, like, there's this feeling that it's not right. Say that. Say, this doesn't sound like me. Can you ask me some questions to help you do your job better? And
Yeah.
it will do that.
Yeah. Love it. That is so good. So, do you have a view on what we should use AI for and what we shouldn't use AI for? Do you have a view on that?
Yeah, yeah. I think there are some things that are really important to be human, and it's going to be different in every business, but you want to think about your customer or your client experience, right? And if you like put yourself in the shoes of your customer and think, if they found out this was AI, or if they were like, how would this feel for them? And even like test it out with some people that are good customers that are going to give you good feedback, and work with that. Because, for example, right now you can set up bots in your DMs that converse as if they are human, and then it's not transparent that they're not you.
It's not you.
And then as soon as someone finds out, the disconnect is huge. So it's not something I do, but because a lot of people do it. Like, for example, I had someone messaging me the other day, obviously thought that I was a bot, and every word reply was just no. I was like, have you put this in your calendar? No. Did you get the email? No. Like, and I eventually said, hey, I'm just letting you know that it's actually M in here. It's MG here. Let me know your email. I'll get the team to like go and, see what's happened. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I assumed it was a bot.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And
so easy.
so that I'm like, no, we want to keep the connection, because people still buy from people, right? No matter whether you're
Definitely.
service based or ecom,
Yeah.
people still buy from people. So it's different for different businesses, but even we've those website bots that are supposed to solve a problem. If there's no opportunity for them to go, hey, I really need to speak to a human, people just get pissed off and they go and find other companies. Um, so there's going to be mistakes that we make, that we go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have used AI for that. I have an example of that with LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is full of AI. And I was like, well, you know what? Everyone expects it. I'm just going to test it out. I'm going to use AI in LinkedIn. Oh, it was icky. And I literally had someone reply to me telling me that it was icky, because my message to her, which was from AI, was asking her, if she's using AI in her business, but her profile literally said that she teaches people how to use AI in their business.
Oh, no.
So the AI didn't read the information. And yeah, then that she was just like, really? Did you
Yeah.
not read my
Oh, no.
profile? Obviously not. So, if I'm making those mistakes, there's people making those mistakes, and I think it's better to just own them and be transparent about how you're using AI, so that, yeah, it's maintaining that connection.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you have said people buy for people, because it's one of my
Mhm.
catchphrases or things that I reinforce so many times. So that's so cool. Um, so what is your view? I'd love to know if you have, I mean, obviously you're not You can't kind of skip time and see what's in the future. But do you have any kind of view on what is coming? And, is it going to take people's jobs?
Yeah, so it will definitely take people's jobs. It's already is. It already is.
Yeah.
Even, 2 years ago, a friend of mine who was working in customer service in a small, like, ecom jewelry brand, she lost her role to AI, and that was 2 years ago because they implemented this bot that, yeah, and whether or not that works for them, I don't know. So there is obviously a huge shift in industry, and I want to acknowledge that it is actually really scary. And if you go far down the rabbit hole, and I have done many times, there is genuine concerns for humanity, for the economy, for a lot of things. And
Yeah.
I don't ever want to disregard that concern because I think it's very valid. And I think it's a discussion that needs to be had because if we just bury our heads in the sand and then something happens and we throw our hands up and go, oh, I had no idea that was going to happen. It's like, well, however, we can only do so much, right? And having those discussions is important. At the same time, it's important to do what we need to do in order to protect ourselves from
Yeah.
this revolution. Because it's what it is. It's a revolution similar to the Industrial Revolution, but it's happening at a pace that is beyond what we can humanly keep up with. So if you are feeling like overwhelmed, or the word I use is exhausted, exhausted, overwhelmed, overstimulated, everyone is feeling that way.
Normal.
Yeah. And even I'm feeling that way. And, most people would think I'm very up to date. I constantly feel like I'm out of date with everything, but everyone is. So, yes, I do think there is already job displacement. There are going to be businesses that end up shutting down because they haven't used it and their competitors have, and they've just not been able to keep up. And that is genuinely quite concerning. I know there's a lot of discussion around, what we do in the economy long term if people work less. I don't truly believe, like, I guess I'm an optimist. I believe that there's going to be a period of time that's going to be crap. And I think we're probably going into that period of time. There's going to be a lot of people that struggle for, maybe 5-10 years. And then the pendulum will swing back because things will have to change economically. And we will hopefully at that point all just have more free time. But we've got to work out what that looks like in terms of, if people are working less hours and they're getting paid an hourly rate, what does that look like? And how to
Yeah.
continue to afford to live? And yeah, there's lots of solutions being thrown around, but I think there's just going to be a bit of a messy middle. Small business owners have an opportunity though, because it doesn't need to be an hourly rate for us. We can
Yes. We
use
can
our time.
maximize this time,
Mm,
right? Like that's
mm,
how I feel. I feel like if we can adopt some of this early and be the early adopters, even though AI, it's happened. It's not coming, it's happened. But I feel like if we can jump on and be a little bit ahead of some, then we've
mm.
actually got a competitive edge. That's
Look,
how I feel.
even if you are, just using Claude or ChatGPT every day for something right now, you're ahead of a lot of businesses. And I think, like you and I, we're immersed in groups of people that are using it. But I've also been immersed and spoken to many, many groups who, when I speak to them, they're really not using it. And these are business owners not using it much at all because maybe they've been in business for 10 years. They've really stuck in the way that they do things. And so changing those systems, it's hard, it's scary, and it's slow. And so small businesses and startups, we have an opportunity to level the playing field. And that can actually be really exciting. Corporate organizations are so slow to make any change. So by the time they catch up, well, they can't because the
Moving too quick.
the needle's gone like out the window at that point, and they're still going, oh, we've still got a fax machine here.
Yeah. Yeah. I I'm an optimist too, by far. And I try to kind of share with my students in my program to kind of jump on it, not because everyone else is doing it or it's the cool, trendy thing, but just dabble in it for it to help you to be that one step ahead. That's that's kind of my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if it can make your life easier, even if it's
Easier.
just for a couple of hours a week, amazing. I mean, there is definitely a learning curve though, right? And honestly, when you start really diving into it, you'll spend more time faffing
And
around than what you will actually getting a result. And that catches people sometimes. So there is a level of persistence that's needed to get that return on your time and investment.
yeah, totally.
Mm.
Em, is there any questions that I haven't asked you that you get asked a lot that you would like to share?
I feel like the questions you've asked are definitely the ones that a lot of people ask. Good question. Maybe the mistakes. I do get asked, like, what are the mistakes that people are making?
Mhm.
But share what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've touched on some of them, but the main mistakes that I see people making is that shiny object syndrome and flipping between AI systems really quickly without really thinking about what they need. And that happened, recently with people exiting ChatGPT and moving to Claude, which I did myself. I mean, I took a little while before I made the decision, but we get whiplash if we chop
Mhm.
and change too quickly. So it's not just looking at like what's the trend, what's the hype, it's what does my business actually need? And then bringing into that the fact that now it is, I think, very important for all businesses to be building out a separate AI brain or a separate AI knowledge base that
Mm.
doesn't have to be connected to Claude. It can be connected to ChatGPT, Claude, whatever other AI tool you're using. And obviously, that's something we talk about an AI marketing machine, but it just means that if you do tomorrow decide that, okay, we want to move things or use a different platform, you've
Do
got
it quite
the
quickly.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might have saved time using AI, but then you waste time changing everything that you're doing every few months.
Yes.
But that's definitely one of the biggest mistakes that's happening right now is people not realizing they need to build like those assets as an AI brain about your business and your processes.
To
So there's that.
future-proof yourself, right?
It
It's
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And the ability to, oh, what's the right word? The feedback loop that most people are missing. That's one of the biggest mistakes. There's been from the beginning of ChatGPT is consistent. People are still doing it now. They will come to me and say, "Hey, I've given AI this prompt or I've set up this workflow and it's not giving me what I want it to."
Content.
And I go back and I'm like, "Cool, have you told it that?" And they go, "Oh, no." So that it's like a human. It's not a human. It's like a human in that if you imagine that you're just having a conversation with a human that actually wants feedback, because some humans don't actually wants feedback and give it that feedback, and that's a skill that everyone now needs, right? It's a skill that children need to be learning in school is how to give feedback
Yeah.
because and how to manage. I don't want to say people because we're not talking about people, but it's managing a team. Ultimately, you're going to become the manager of your AI team,
Mm.
but not all of us have management skills.
Yes.
And so then if you haven't got those skills, you need to learn them ultimately. Like everyone is going to need to learn management skills, which is kind
I
of,
guess you don't have to be as PC though, right?
no, you don't. You
You
can
don't
be
have
like,
to
that
do
was
it the
crap.
right.
Do
Yeah.
better. You can't say that
Exactly.
to a human.
You don't have HR hanging over your
Mm.
head like in corporate saying you've got to do it this way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, you're going to get a PG on your front door.
Well, that's right. And, my sister works in HR and it's funny because she's like, what's it going to be called in the future? Because it's not going to be human resources. It's just going to be called resources. And I'm like,
Yeah.
right, I don't think it's resources. Like it's still team, right? So AI becomes part of your team. So maybe it's
Yes.
I don't know what it'll be called in the future, but it's not
Yeah.
human. I don't think we should start calling the AI team human because
No, no,
that
it's
crosses a line.
dangerous. It does cross a line. It definitely does. Fabulous, MG. Thank you so much. I would love for you to share how people can work with you. Obviously, in the show notes, I will put links to all of your things. But do you have anything coming up or anything that you want to share around how people can work with you?
Yeah, so the best place to connect with me is probably on Instagram, and you can put the link down below for Instagram. I will likely, no matter when you listen to this, be running a masterclass in the near future because I'm doing that almost every month at the moment for free because there's always something new to be sharing. And obviously that's part of my funnel, like then bringing you into the programs that I have. So AI Marketing Machine, which is an online course that we run every quarter where you will build out your AI marketing and operating system. It's actually so much more than marketing now. And then I have the Biz Revolution, which is my membership for women in business who want to have that place where there's a group of female founded AI forward women. You can ask questions, not feel like, it's a silly question. It's a great sounding board. And you also get access to some, I guess, lower level, like entry level AI trainings in there as well. So it can be a great place to start, but it's also really good for consistency because the reality is, you'll build your AI marketing machine or you'll build AI into your business in this current state. And then there's going to be evolutions and you want to do that consistently, but also smartly. So
Yeah.
those are the two ways to work with me. But the best place really is to just start by coming to a masterclass and take some gold nuggets away from that. And there's always as well, I'm pretty sure I've got my starter kit somewhere at the top of my Instagram page that's got updated resources that I've recently added in Claude because previously it was related to ChatGPT. And so that's a really good starting point too.
Perfect. You guys definitely have to go and check MG out. And I love following your socials, by the way. You always have a bit of humor and a bit of a giggle. And yeah, you're a fun person to follow and you share loads of tips. So definitely
Let's
want
make
to
it
go.
fun.
Yeah,
Like no one
totally.
tech can be so boring and like, oh, like let's make it enjoyable.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for joining us today, MG. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. And let's do it again sometime
Oh
as
yeah.
things
I mean, look,
evolve.
even in a few months, I could be talking about something different. So thank you for having me. It's been great sharing.
No problem. Thank you.